Folks, the buyer had no idea what was happening. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending April the 2nd, 2025. The situation I'm about to share with you, it's happened to me in different varieties several times, and many realtors have experienced what I'm about to talk to you about. We're representing a seller. This is a condo townhouse that we were selling. We receive an offer. The offer had a financing condition, a home inspection condition, a status review condition. After all, it's a condo townhouse. It makes sense that there's a status review condition. And it had 3 visits, meaning the buyer can go back 3 times before closing to visit the home. I review the offer with my clients, the sellers. We send them back a counter offer. I'm not hearing back from the agent. I call and he says, Santo, I'm still trying to reach my clients. It's approaching the expiry of the counter offer that we sent now. So I called the agent back and I said, buddy, what's going on? You accepting our counter offer? What's happening? And he says, Santo, I can't reach my client. That ended up expiring. I'm explaining this to my clients, the sellers, that the client, the buyer's actually, AWOL, gone. The agent says he can't reach his client. It's really hard to understand that situation, but that's what it was. The next day, we receive another offer on the property. So here we go again. An offer gets registered. I receive the offer. I'm going like this, but I'm looking at it on my computer screen. And it's the same buyer, but with a different agent. So I call the agent and I say, hey, you should know that this buyer put in an offer yesterday with a different agent. And the agent says, I know. The buyer's my sister, and she didn't feel the other agent was representing her properly. She didn't feel the other agent had her best interests, the agent tells me. I go, so then why didn't you put in an offer yesterday? He says, I was traveling, I was too busy, but I'm here now. I'm going to take care of my sister. I'm going to put the offer in. Okay, remember, I'm representing the seller. That's my client. So I'm reviewing this offer. There is no financing condition. There is no home inspection condition. There is no status certificate review condition. And there are no visits. There's no clause talking about how many visits the buyers get before closing. All these conditions and the visit clause was in the first offer, but not in this agent's offer. This is the brother of the buyer. Anyways, I review this with my seller, the client. If we accept this offer, it's a firm offer. There's 0 conditions. We change the price and we change the deposit. We increase the deposit, we increase the price, and we send it back as a counter offer. And it gets accepted. So there we go. Done deal. The home is sold firm. Deposit comes in the next day. My clients are happy. The agent calls me a couple days later and says, hey, when are you sending the status certificate? And I said, what status certificate? He goes, when are you sending? My lawyer's asking for the status certificate. And I said, buddy, you didn't put a condition of status certificate. You didn't even put a clause saying that we should supply you with the status certificate. So we don't have a status certificate. And he said, but it's a condo. Of course there's a status certificate. I said, oh, there's a status certificate for sure. We just, the sellers, have not ordered one. But you're more than welcome to order one. And he says, but the sellers normally pay for the status certificate and supply the buyer. I said, you're right when the clause or that condition is written. But you didn't mention anything about a status certificate, so we didn't order, but you're more than welcome to order one for your client. So we left that one alone. A few weeks later, I receive an email from my office that this agent is booking a buyer's visit for the house, which is normal. If there's a clause saying the buyer gets so many visits, but there wasn't that. So I called the agent. I said, I see you booked a buyer's visit, but there's no clause indicating you get a buyer's visit. And he said, but we always get buyer's visits. I said, you always get a buyer's visit when there's a clause saying that, but you didn't put that in. He goes, oh, must have been just a mistake. What's the big deal? Just speak to your clients about letting my client in to visit. I go, I'll speak with him, but understand you don't have that clause. So let me see what they say. I speak with my clients, and their attitude is what's the big deal? Let him in. There is a bit of a big deal here, and I advise my clients before we just decide to allow the visit that they should run this by their real estate lawyer. And I had a pretty good idea what their lawyer was going to say. That's why I'm also suggesting, hey, run this by your lawyer. And they asked their lawyer and said, look, they didn't have a clause for buyer's visit, but they're asking for a buyer's visit. They're saying it's a mistake. We don't mind letting them in. What do you think? And the lawyer says, absolutely not. There is no upside to these buyers coming in to view your home. There's no upside to you, the seller, which is the lawyer's client and also my client. So that was that. And I called him and I said, look, the lawyer says no, you can't have a visit. You didn't ask for one. One was not agreed to. So no, he's upset. This agent is upset. But he shouldn't be upset at me. He should be upset at himself. And his client should definitely be upset at him. The home eventually closed. Everything worked out. The moral of the story is the buyers or sellers, they don't always know the best way to protect themselves. They don't always know what they should be putting in these offers, conditions, clauses. They don't always know. It's not their business in the sense that it's not their job, it's not their profession. They don't always know. But they hire realtors to represent them. The realtor, the person they hire, should know the best way to protect their client. I've said it before, I haven't said it in a while, but who you hire matters. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, below this video in the description there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a day and time that suits you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. Peel region. We are focused on detached properties for Mississauga, Brampton, and Durham. For Durham, we're using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as our Durham sample. This is just a summary of average sold prices. We're going to start off with Mississauga. For week ending April the 2nd, 31 detached properties sold. 4 of those were at $2 million or more. What's happening with sales? Well, I'm normally trying to find trends. That's what I'm trying to share with you. Trending up, trending down, no trend, flat. I think sales are kind of flat. 31, a little lower than the previous week, but, one higher than the week before that. I think sales are kind of flat. They're really not showing up or down in any direction. Average sold price to me looks like it is trending down a bit. We're now at $1,438,000. 1,438 is 10% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price of 1415 is 4% lower than where we were this time a year ago. Now, the dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. And oftentimes, the 4-week moving average for median price shows the same trend as the average sold price. Not this time. The average price, if we look at the dotted line, looks like it's trending down, but the median price, it's kind of flat. 31 were sold, 19%, not a lot, 19% sold at list price or more. Listings, the busiest, the most listings we've had in 1 week this whole year so far. 150 detached properties were listed. Active listings, the amount of properties available for sale, 652. That's a lot. I'm going to go back one slide here. So 31 sold, but there's 672 to choose from. There's lots of detached properties sitting out there. Months of inventory, climbing. We're now at 5 months of inventory. Here's Brampton. 46 detached properties sold. No properties sold at $2 million or more. So our sales trending up. Well, look, 46 is a very busy week. The most amount of sales in 1 week so far this year. We were in the 40s before. We're now at 46, but in between we're in the the mid-20s, low 30s. I'm not sure which way sales are trending. I'm just not able to point that out to you. You judge for yourself. They're the numbers. Average sold price. If we go back to January, February, beginning of March, looked like average sold price was trending up. But since then, looks like average sold price is now trending down. We're all over the place here, folks. Compared to last year, I didn't even tell you what the average sold price. The average sold price is $1,088,000. Compared to last year's average sold price for the same week, $1,088,000 is 4% lower. The median price of $1,025,000 is 12% lower. And if we look since the beginning of March, end of February, average price and median price are trending down. And I'm looking at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average. 46 were sold, a quarter of those, 26% sold at list price or more. 184 were listed. The previous week, 181. The previous week before that, 214. So there's lots of detached properties being listed in Brampton. Active listings, we're at 947 available for sale detached properties on the market. And months of inventory did come down because 46 sales jumped up, but we're sitting at 4.8 months of inventory. Here's for Durham, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby, 51 detached properties were sold. One sold at $2 million or more. This to me seems more clear that sales very, very gradually. It's not predominant, but trending up gradually. Average sold price, if we kind of ignore the outlier prices here that were really low, kind of looks like overall average prices are trending upwards. 1153, that's the average sold price. It's 2% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price of $1,070,000 is 9% lower than where we were this time a year ago. 51 were sold, 45% sold at list price or more. I've underlined, I just could have kept going. I mean, a bunch of these percentages. In Durham region, specifically for detached properties for Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby, for around half, 50%, 60% to be selling at list price or more, it's pretty normal. Lots of listings though, 138 were listed. Active listings is climbing. We're now at 458 available properties for sale. Months of inventory down a bit at 2.1. Very competitive in the Durham region. A high percentage of properties in Durham, detached properties, are listed with an offer date pricing strategy. Here's a quick summary. Buyer's market, balanced market, seller's market. Depending on price point neighborhood you're in, I think you move around a little bit, you're going to experience all three markets when it comes to Mississauga, Brampton, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.